How can it possibly get any worse? Is this a money laundering operation too? This is like the Three Musketeers of scandals. How can this possibly be? The threefer. Brooke Singman, Fox News, last night, a story in the show notes. Spread this everywhere. Everywhere. Parler, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Gary Oldman style from that movie. What was the movie? Everyone. Spread it everywhere. Fox News, laptop connected to Hunter Biden linked to FBI money laundering probe. We're going to vote for this guy for president. Holy Moses, are you a moron? I'm really sorry. Don't call your audience a moron. I'm not. I'm calling the morons who are going to vote for Joe Biden morons because that's exactly what you are. Now, folks, disclosure here. I did get this information a couple days ago from an FBI agent interested in doing the right thing. That's why I brought that up in the beginning of the show. And I said, had the FBI not disclosed this information during the impeachment trial? Biden, Ukraine, money laundering, pay for play, like exactly what Trump was concerned about that he was impeached over. There are a lot of people. That's why I'm not going to sit here and bash the FBI. There are a lot of good people out there who have emailed me and other whistleblowers and said, I've had enough. I know it's happening. Right. Deny it all you want. So I'm not going to stereotype an entire agency. However, clearly the agency's in a lot of trouble and needs absolute reform. But I did get this a few days ago from a guy. I was just a little bit reluctant to put it out. Listen, I get it. Some of you may say, why not? Because, ladies and gentlemen, I was focused on the child pornography thing. But the money laundering angle, I mentioned it last night on Hannity, has now been broken by Fox News too. Now, how do we know this, that the Biden laptop may be connected to money laundering? Well, we know it from the FBI themselves. How? Well, let's go to, this is the information I got the other day too. So I'm guessing this person may have emailed Fox too. The receipt given to the computer store, which had Hunter Biden's computer from the FBI. Folks, when you're a federal agent and you take property, you have to give someone a receipt. You can't just like take drug money or take a computer and pocket it. You have to give them a receipt so the person knows and can follow up with it. The document given to the computer store owner has a case ID section, which is filled in with a handwritten number. That number is 272D-BA-306-65729. According to multiple officials, including the one that reached out to me, and the FBI's website, 272, which is the first three numbers in the case number, is the FBI's classification for money laundering. 272D refers to unknown, specific unlawful activity, white-collar crime program, according to FBI documents. One government official describes the D designation as transnational or blanket. The BA indicates the case was opened in the FBI's Baltimore field office, sources said. Now, I have a little experience in this space as a former federal agent myself, and as I explained to my wife last night, the fact that the FBI had a case number after they took this computer is significant enough in and of itself. Why is that? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the golden rule in the Secret Service was you don't open up a case unless you think you're going to make an arrest or engage in a serious investigation. Why? Why would the FBI, why would the fact that there's a case number at all for a money laundering investigation, why would that, this is the kind of stuff you're not going to get elsewhere. Why is that significant? Producer Joe, Ombudsman, Paula, need your Ombudsman hats on because this may make sense to me, but I'm hoping it makes sense to the audience. So, filter me here. When I was an agent, let's say you went out and you were investigating a counterfeit pass or whatever it may be. If you didn't think that case was going to result in an investigation, it was very rare to open up a case and get a case number. Why? For simple administrative reasons, because then you would have to, we would call tickle the case. I mean, tickle it like tickle it. Tickle it was a Secret Service terminology for you'd have to update the status of the case every 3 months. Write a report on it, which is a real pain in the caboose. So if someone came in with a tip about a case and you didn't think it was going to go anywhere, or the person was fudging it and making it up and it wasn't true, you may look into it, but you weren't going to open a formal case because you don't want to write reports on it for the rest of your life if you're not going to be able to close the damn case out and arrest someone. Everybody got it?
Yeah.
Head nod from Paula. I hear an audio confirmation from Joe. You don't open up a case you're not going to close. Get it? Close it by arrest. It's a pain in the butt. The fact that the FBI opened up a case on this says to me, uh-oh, something on that computer was very serious. International money laundering. Ouch. What could that be? Well, if you're a regular listener to this show, like my wife is, who's been listening to this show as long as it's been on, she said to me, gee, Dan, didn't you and Armacost talk about this like 3 years ago when I'm about to? Yeah, we did. Some of you older listeners may already know this story. What story? The money laundering story the FBI apparently knows now. Well, what is the money laundering? So get to it, buddy. Okay, let's get right to it. Tons of articles on this. I tried to pick the best one. It's an older one, but it's worth your time again. It's from the great John Solomon at his news site, Just the News. It's an older one. This is from February of 2020, earlier in the year, but the story will be in the show notes today. I strongly suggest you read it. Bongino.com/newsletter. Newsletter is the show notes. Latvia. Now, where does this case stop? Latvia flags suspicious Hunter Biden payments back in 2016. Ukrainian authorities alerted to concerns about Joe Biden's son just a month before Vice President Biden forced the firing of a prosecutor investigating the natural gas company paying Hunter Biden. That's the whoa guy emoji. I don't have his round. I got like a cement block head, not a round. But if my face had the round features of the whoa guy emoji, it would work better. Maybe Drew can slap a whoa guy emoji right over me there for the video production. That would be wonderful. So we now know they took the computer. We know the FBI had opened up a case, which is significant in and of itself, as I just told you. When they opened up the case, they didn't designate it a child pornography case. They designated it a money laundering transnational case out of the Baltimore field office. We know John Solomon, back in February of 2020, was trying to push out into the media as he was doing actual journalism, and the media was ignoring it, that, hey, there have been long allegations since 2016 about Hunter Biden receiving transnational payments. Oh, transnational money laundering, kind of like the FBI opened up the case. So there have been allegations that Hunter Biden's received transnational suspicious money payments as far back as 2016. Why didn't the FBI tell us about this again during the impeachment? Now, what's really weird about this is in March of 2016, when Joe Biden is on tape. I'm not playing it again. You've seen it 1,000 times. Joe Biden on tape at the Council of Foreign Relations. He talks about his March 2016 demand, March 2016, follow me, demand that the prosecutor looking into his son's company and these suspicious payments, Victor Shokin, the prosecutor be fired. That happened in March of 2016. Don't you think it's weird that in February of 2016, Joe, again, as a ombudsman, February is before March, correct?
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
The verdict is in. Joe's a genius. February is before March, confirmed by Joe and Paula. So before Joe Biden demands the prosecutor looking into these payments and all this stuff in Ukraine, the prosecutor in Ukraine get fired. Right before that, January, February, March, the month before, the Latvian government reaches out to Ukraine and says, hey, there's a lot of these really suspicious payments we think may involve Hunter Biden's bank account and Burisma. And then, wow, a month later, the prosecutor looking into all this stuff and you gets fired on the demand of Joe Biden, who's Hunter Biden's dad, who works for the company the prosecutor's looking into while the Latvians are looking into it too. Oh, that's just all a big coinky-dink, I'm sure. Let's go to the John Solomon piece and see what these flag payments were. Quote, John Solomon, February 2020. As the U.S. presidential race began roaring to life in 2016, authorities in the former Soviet Republic of Latvia flagged a series of suspicious financial transactions to Hunter Biden and other colleagues at a Ukrainian natural gas company and sought Kiev's help investigating, according to documents and interviews. The February 18, 2016 alert to Ukraine came from the Latvian prosecutorial agency responsible for investigating money laundering. What are the chances, man? And it specifically questioned whether Vice President Biden's younger son and 3 other officials at Burisma Holdings were the potential beneficiaries of suspect funds. Dan, this story sounds familiar. I listen to your show every day. Of course it does. We covered it when it happened. No one else in the media did. But now that there's an FBI open case, 272D-BA, now all of a sudden it's a big story. Weird how that happens. How it kind of just flew under the radar the whole time. Didn't fly under the radar. The media tried to bury it under the radar and destroy the radar system. Now they can't because Rudy Giuliani's got a big microphone. And was able to get this out there. So just again, to simplify this, we have allegations of kiddie porn, Biden family knowing about kiddie porn. We now have confirmation Joe Biden is the big guy in an email involving payments from the Chinese government, where the Chinese government acknowledged to this guy that they were involved in an influence operation. In other words, pay to play with the former vice president. We now know the FBI opened a money laundering investigation after they got Hunter's computer. We now know, or we knew back then, that the Latvian government was investigating potential money laundering as well, involving payments to Burisma and Hunter Biden that are not in the thousands, folks. Payments that are in the millions. Oh, you don't believe me? Let's go back to the John Solomon piece because we always produce the evidence. The Latvian law enforcement memo to Ukraine identified a series of loan payments totaling about 16.6 million. Don't forget that 0.6 that were routed from companies in Belize and the United Kingdom to Burisma. Sounds kind of like money laundering, bouncing it from country to country. And they were routed through Ukraine's Privat Bank through 2012 and 2015. Privat Bank sounds like the bank I've been talking about on my show for the last 3 years. Odd, isn't it? The flagged funds were, quote, partially transferred, Joe, to Hunter Biden, a board member at Burisma since May of 2014, and 3 other officials working for the Ukrainian natural gas company, the Latvian memo said. So the Latvians were aware of suspicious payments totaling 16.6 million people. Why were they routed through 3 different countries? There's actually another country involved too. Cyprus and others. Why were these payments routed through multiple countries to finally make it back and, quote, be partially transferred to Hunter Biden? Why would you do that? Oh, to kind of wipe your footprints clean on where the money came from? Is that you think, Joe? Can it make sense to you?
Yeah.
Footprints, money, wipe those footprints clean, route it through multiple, and that way you don't know where it came from. Interesting that when the Latvians say, hey, we got these payments to Hunter Biden and Burisma that seem awfully suspicious, they send a letter to Ukraine in February of 2016. Hey, there's something going on with these payments here. Millions to Hunter Biden. All of a sudden, a month later, Joe Biden shows up in March of 2016 and demands the prosecutor in Ukraine that gets the letter be fired. No, don't worry, Jessica Tarloff and Marie Harf, the liberal talking heads who I've heard talk about this. Nothing to see here at all. Nothing to see. There's no evidence at all of any wrong. None.
You just heard Dan Bongino.